Calls meeting to order. The time is 6 p.m. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. A moment of silence, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We want to turn it.
It's going to go off after it rings.
Oh, just be with that.
Yeah.
It takes a
I don't
minute.
have it here.
We're going to turn on. Right.
Just switch chairs, he stated.
All right, we'll start with presentations, CAVE Student Leadership Awards presented by Principals Rob Alves and Greg Watts. We'll start with Mr. Alves.
All right, thank you. I'm here to present the CAVE Leadership Award. As you know, it recognizes outstanding high school and middle school students who demonstrate exceptional leadership qualities both within the school community and beyond. The first one I'm going to call up is Alexa Beams. As you already know her, but I'm going to talk a little bit about her right now as one of our recipients. As you know, Alexa is a senior at Montville High School, and she's heavily involved not only in her school community, but all of Montville and neighboring towns. She is the co-president of the class of 2024, a member of the National Honor Society, Spanish Honor Society, and the Art Honor Society. She also serves as a student board student representative on the Board of Education. As you know, she's been with us for 2 years now. She's on the Montville High School Governance Council. Outside of school, Alexa enjoys spending her time playing volleyball and volunteering at Bacchus Hospital. As she approaches the end of her high school career, Alexa is planning on pursuing a career in healthcare at UConn, at the University of Connecticut. So, Alexa Beams. Congratulations. All right, now I'd like to bring up my main man, Jesse Brown. Come on up, bud. Jesse, a lifelong resident in Montville, Connecticut. He's currently, as you know, a senior at Montville High School. He serves in multiple leadership roles as the student government president, co-editor of our newspaper, in addition to serving on the school governance council. It is through his extracurricular involvement that Jesse has discovered his tremendous passion for pushing himself out of his comfort zone and towards his goal. In addition to his multifaceted love for pushing his own limits, Jesse also maintains a profound interest in writing and music. Presently, he hopes to turn the former into a career in which he can continue to better himself as well as the relationship with others. Jesse plans to attend UConn Avery Point next year. Jesse Brown.
Congrats.
Okay, Tile is proud to announce two students. Paul Wilhock could not be here tonight, so he's not here. And then we do have Jessica Wu who's here tonight. I promised I would be very quick because she is going to her band concert, the spring concert, which is happening very shortly. But Miss Beams and the 8th grade team resoundingly nominated Jessica for this award. And Jessica is what we like to call, come on up, a quiet leader who leads by example and exemplifies all the Tile Way attributes. Never seeks out attention, just every day goes about her business, top student academically, exceptional musician, and she's just someone that we really appreciate, and we want to make sure does not go unnoticed because this style of leadership is needed more than ever. So Jessica, we're very excited to name you, and your mom is here as a CAVE student leader for the 2024 school year. Yes, thank you.
Okay, recognition of senior board representative, Alexa Beams.
Alexa, I need you to come up one more time. At this time, I would like to present Alexa Beams with a small token of the board's appreciation for your work on the board as student rep for the last 2 years. Alexa, your insight and perspective have been extremely valuable. Your reports on student activities, student perspective, just the events that are happening in the school is really helpful to the board as they make decisions. You know they make decisions that are always students first, and they need to hear from students to make those student first decisions. So we appreciate your time very much, and we wish you the very best at UConn. And just a little something from UConn to help you start there. Yeah.
Okay, alterations to the agenda. I have two. One would be remove 7B, item 7B, consideration and action to approve the contract, CSEA CEIU Local 2001, Montville Secretaries Chapter, as recommended by the negotiating committee, as the secretaries have not ratified the contract yet.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstentions? Move the agenda, 7B. Thank you. And I'd like to add new item 7B. Consideration of possible action to approve Amplifies Core Knowledge Language Arts Program for use in grades K through 5 as recommended by the E&E Committee.
So moved.
Second. Discussion. Anybody like E&E like to talk about that real quick or not? We'll wait. Okay. All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none. Add it to the agenda. Thank you, board. All right. Let's see. Citizens' comments regarding agenda items only. Any citizens' comments regarding agenda items only? Citizens' comments regarding agenda items only. Hearing none. Thank you. Letters and communications.
I have none.
Okay. Approval of the consent calendar.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstentions? Hearing none, motion passes. Budget update, Kathy, please.
We're working on orders and reconciling purchase orders to prepare for the end of the year. At this meeting, we are not proposing any transfers, but we'll continue to monitor the salaries and employee benefits as well as tuition accounts. We anticipate holding a special meeting after the town passes the budget, at which point we will likely make recommendations for transfers. Currently, our projection reflects a surplus in both salaries and employee benefits, while the tuition accounts are showing a shortage. I hate saying that, but it's just the shortage is due to some late outplacements. We did also have some kids transfer or were placed out when they transferred in, and it's showing a shortage. As we close out the purchase orders, we will have more accurate information at the next meeting to understand the transfers needed to address this shortage. Our intentions is to reallocate the surpluses to cover items that were not initially budgeted for, such as the K-5 reading program adoption required by the state. And I don't think we'll have enough to do all of these, but these are just items. Cameras for the elementary schools, which were necessary because they were not funded out of the state security grant. High school scoreboard that was installed in 2008, which has been broken. Their part is anticipated that it will maybe not be able to be purchased. Elementary playgrounds, which have essential repairs or were identified recently in a playground inspection. We will provide further updates as we refine our projections and identify available funds for essential items going forward. Questions?
How much do we have in the 2% account, please?
Oh, I didn't bring that with me.
Ballpark? I asked this question board in the event.
You did, and special meeting, can I give it to you? Because I don't want to give out a number that's not.
Right. I asked this question of Kathy because I'm curious about the cost of a scoreboard, things like that. might be something we look at the 2% fund to pay for.
The history of the scoreboard is that there's a component in the scoreboard that's not working, and it was installed when the renovations occurred in 2007-8. So basically, don't make the part anymore. We've sent it to the company to see if they can fix it. It arrived on Monday. We haven't heard from them yet, and we are anticipating kind of bad news and then how long it's taken. Either way, the scoreboard's really old, and when the next part goes, the parts are not replaceable any longer. It will require completely redoing the supports for the scoreboard because the new size wouldn't fit that. So I think Tim said around $20,000 was kind of what his estimate was what that would be. And obviously we could go to the 2% account, but if we're lucky, we'll take a look at the budget as we close the year out, pay those extra tuition fees that we have, and be able to find $20,000. That's our goal. So we'll let you know.
And the other issue is that right now, we've just gotten an analysis from the United Schools with the kids going in, and that might be a little bit short going into the budget next year. Based on, it will change because it always does change. The number that they project is being accepted, and what actually goes is usually less. So, but right now, when I got the numbers from both Learn and the New London Magnets, we're a little bit shy on that tuition based on the number of students that were accepted to what we have in the budget. So I mean, I'd like to keep the 2% available for those types of situations as much as possible.
Understand. Any other questions? All right. Thank you. New business consideration and action to approve contract CSEA SEIU Local 2001 Montville Para Educator Chapter as recommended by the negotiating committee.
Second.
Discussion.
The para-educator union voted to ratify the contract language which was negotiated. It is a 4-year contract. Wills and Tina represented the board in those negotiations. The key changes, I can just summarize quickly for you. There's reference to mandatory professional development for paras according to statute. There's reference to the requirement that paras meet the federal highly qualified status, which is passing para pro or having 60 college credits. There's a 3% wage increase in year 1, 3.25 in year 2, and 3% in years 3 and 4. There is the addition of 4-hour paid holidays for part-time paras. In the present contract, they have 2 paid holidays. They also, over time in the district, progress down steps. So step 1 is when you're first hired, then they go down steps, which have small increases in pay to pay for knowledge gained and encourage people to stay a length of time in the district. So our thought was to incentivize that continued employment in district with the addition of these holidays as well. When they go into step 2, they would get a 3rd paid holiday. In step 3, a 4th. In step 4, a 5th. Step 5, a 6th. And step 6 is the end, a 6th. So that over time they would build up those, and they're just 4 hours. That's what a day is for a part-time para. There's a move for the paras from the PPO health insurance to a high deductible health insurance plan. We did tell the paras that people who are currently enrolled in the PPO and want to stay would be grandfathered into staying there, but any new paras or anyone newly electing insurance or transferring out and coming back in would need to take the high deductible plan. Obviously, that is a less expensive plan for the board. The people that stay in the PPO will have a higher cost share than the people that go to the high deductible. There is an increase in part-time paras group life insurance from $20,000 to $25,000, and an increase in the total amount of sick leave that they can accrue. So if people don't use sick leave, it banks for them, and there's a cap to that bank. For full-time, the cap was 135 days. We increased it to 150, and for a part-time, it was 88 hours, and we increased it to 120. And the hope would be that incentivizes people to save their sick time whenever possible, so that they build that bank up. There were other minor changes, but those are the big ones.
Yes,
Sick
Carol.
time is not paid out on retirement.
I think you did an excellent job explaining that, but I think it would be really nice to have a copy of that before tonight, because I like to read what I'm voting on.
We talked about that, and the contract is confidential. confidential until it's approved, so in the old days, when we would just give it to the board, we would have done that. New, anything I give you is posted to the community, and so it was one of those gray areas that we talked about, was that I think until it gets to this point, but if you say, I'm not prepared to ratify it without seeing it, we can certainly set up an executive session and I can provide you with a copy of it.
Maybe in the future, I mean, we have a great job explaining, but maybe. in the
Yeah,
future.
we can think to do that. It was honestly this new change in board docs that had, it just said the other day, we don't quite know how to do this, but we could do that in executive session, so.
That'd be great.
Okay, any other questions for the superintendent? All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Contract approved, thank you. Okay, 7B, the new one, consideration of possible action to approve Amplify's Core Knowledge Language Arts Program for use in grades K through 5, as recommended by the E&E Committee.
Bob, do you want to talk to that or do you want me to?
Well, I'll let you talk. You did a great presentation already on it.
Okay. We had an ELA committee that worked for 2 years to first take a look at the waiver process, then start to take a look at the programs the state had approved for ELA instruction, and that mandate was for grades K to 3. But we really don't want to have a program that has articulation across all of the elementary grades, so we were searching for K to 5. They looked at all of the state approved programs, and the reading coaches narrowed it down to 3. Our committee was about 20 people. There were multiple representatives from every grade level and each elementary school, from special education, from administration, that were part of this team. They started with identifying what do we want in a program. That's how the coaches brought forward 3. These are 3 that match the things that you're saying you want to see in the program. And then they brought in reps. They brought in full kits of all of the supplies for the programs at every grade level, so teachers sat in meetings with kits and in front of them, looked at all of them. The rep explained it, modeled lessons for them. Then they went out and visited a school where each of the 3 programs is currently being used, spent the day there, talked to the teachers, talked to the coaches and administrators, and asked about their experiences in implementation. Also get just some advice, like, if you do a K to 5 all at once, how is that versus should we phase it in? All the districts that we talked to had done K to 5 all at once and recommended that, because as your coach's attention is on phasing in a new program, if you keep the old one then, but there's no attention to that, that's a problem. And the last thing they did was actually pilot the programs in their classroom, and they taught a unit that we got. The companies provided us with access to the electronic resources and actually copies of books for students to use. So they taught a unit, and in that process, the committee pretty quickly dropped one of the 3 programs, feeling that it did not have a good early literacy foundational skills component, and that's critical to teaching students to read. And so they were going between 2 programs, Benchmark and CKLA. CKLA stands for Content Knowledge Language Arts, because the programs the state's approved are all knowledge-based programs. There's a lot of integration of science and social studies and factual knowledge and building of vocabulary, along with, of course, fiction reading as well. After the pilot, they sent a survey out, and every teacher compared and ranked the programs in each of the areas that is important to us. Oh, they use a rubric also to score all the programs based on rubric criteria. And then they took a vote. It was a unanimous vote to recommend CKLA. We didn't tell them until after they voted. Something that's really, really good news is by far the cheapest program that we looked at. In fact, so much less expensive than ARC, which was our first choice for a while, that we asked the rep to re-quote it 3 times, like, you're sure you're not missing some critical thing? Because ARC was $1.2 million, and CKLA in total in the end, for the first year of adoption, is going to be, hold on, let's see here, $275,000, and the annual repurchase cost is about $45,000. So that's an enormous difference in costs. I don't quite know how, but it's good news for us. The teachers really liked the resources of the program. The electronic resources were extremely user-friendly. They did those pilots with no PD, and were able to, figure out and teach the program in a way that they felt they were really happy with. They found student engagement was extremely strong, and student retention, particularly of pretty rigorous vocabulary and content knowledge, was very strong. For a process that we went into, as you know, picking and screening, it ended with people excited by what we found, which was a really nice way to end this. I'm bringing it to you this quickly because if we can, I'd love to be able to have materials on site before teachers leave so that they have the summer to be able to look at them. But if you feel this is too fast and you need more information, it simply would delay when we place the order, but you'll have another meeting when you could do that if you're not comfortable coming tonight.
I do want to add that the presentation the EAD got was extremely detailed, and the work that the committee did, the 20 members of that committee, was phenomenal. Erica, Tim, Donna were all in there with me, and we were all impressed.
We have a motion. We didn't make the motion, sorry.
I'll make a motion to approve the reading program as presented.
Second by Tim. All right, any further discussion?
I just have a question. Does this have to be approved by the Department of Education?
It is approved.
It's already.
Yeah, they gave us a list we had to choose from.
Any further discussion? I gotta tell you, this is a very interesting number from 1.2 million.
Isn't it? It's like, that's why I kept saying to the coaches, something's missing, something's wrong, but they've met with the rep multiple times, he's recoded it, so.
It's like 25% of what they initially. Okay.
I know.
All right, all those in favor
Great
say,
news.
say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you. Wow.
Yeah, I've been paid part.
Consideration and action to approve the job descriptions for Montville Superintendent and Assistant Superintendent of Schools as recommended by the Policy Committee. Dr. Grumback?
The policy committee met this evening and we reviewed the job descriptions for both the superintendent of schools and the assistant superintendent. We discussed the qualifications, the knowledge, skills, and abilities, and the performance responsibilities for each position. I answered some questions around some global areas as they relate to the position. Additionally, we had a conversation around the division of duties as somebody new comes in, making sure that in that partnership, you're building upon the strengths of one another and, making sure that both of you are responsible for key items, but there is one primary person in charge of specific things. I didn't have a PowerPoint and it wasn't as engaging as
Yeah, it was a good discussion. I was in that meeting. It was a good discussion. All right, do we have a motion? Second, thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you. 7D. Consideration and action to send a letter to the town council, that's for you guys in the audience, confirming our use of the non-lapsing account to meet shortage of $205,611.05 in the 2022-2023 budget. Superintendent?
Yes, so you have to take a step back. This has nothing to do with our current budget or our budget for next year. This is to do with last year's budget. As you know, all last year, Kathy reported to you that we had overexpended funds allocated for outplaced tuitions and transportation. And at year end, this is where we ended needing to take from the 2%. This is quite late in coming to you compared to other years, but we always wait until the audit is completed before we bring this letter to the town council. So this is to make up for that shortfall in 2022-23.
Well, I'm confused, guys. Sorry, I know. So the 205,000, we paid that?
Yes,
Okay, and we paid that out of where?
the 2% account that the town maintains for us.
That 205,000?
Correct.
And what are we asking the council to do for us?
It's just advising them that we use it. They don't have really discretion as to say no. It
It's
is
a courtesy.
It's a courtesy to
It's a
tell them we're
courtesy.
drawing.
And we normally don't do it until the financial statement has been released,
Yep.
because they can make changes to the number. I think it might be, but there was no change to it, so we know that that number is correct right now. The financial statement was just issued to the town, I think, at the last council meeting, so we're comfortable that that is the correct number. So we're just doing, by policy, advising them of the use.
Does this happen every year?
No, unfortunately, the last couple of years it has.
If we take money, it does.
Right, if we utilize it. But we've advised the board along the way that, we were short in tuitions, that we'd be using that money to offset those tuition accounts, which is what the intent of the 2% is for unanticipated cost in that current year budget, if other places can't meet that.
So part of the language of our agreement with the town establishing this 2% account was this letter informing them of the rates.
Got it. Thank you.
So the whole point for the whole board to understand here is that we have to go to this 2% account, which was leftover operating budget from previous years, just to balance out this budget. I just want to make sure everybody understands that. We didn't have enough to balance out the budget, so we're going to the 2% to draw and balance it.
And more important, I think, even than that, is that we have to do that 2 years in a row.
Right.
And that's why Kathy and I are so cautious about if there's a way to pay for the scoreboard another way, like that 2% is really important, and we haven't been building it up. Holding it down.
And one of the reasons the 2% was important for us is because then when we budgeted for tuition for outplaced students, we could identify just the placements that were out and didn't necessarily do contingency placements, which is if you didn't have the 2%, you may have to do some contingencies, which would not be good for the balance of the budget. So that's one of the reasons.
And why Kathy is not panicking, that we already know our budgets, we may have magnet students that we didn't budget for, but we have to.
Motion from you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you. Appraisal of awarding of bid for the tile roof construction project. Superintendent?
So we have a few items on the agenda that are exciting. This is one of them. We received 5 bids for the tile roof project. Greenwood Industries from Worcester, Mass. was the lowest bid, and their references were excellent. Al Jakunski, our architects, actually worked with them, and he has highly recommended them as well. After reviewing, eligible for reimbursement, and our rate has gone up. It's now 72.5% reimbursement, and separating out those costs from what's ineligible for reimbursement, adding architect's fees, we believe the project will come in slightly below budget. We think the roof project will come in, it was budgeted this was the $7 million bond that was in 2022, that the voters approved it. It was budgeted at $1,450,000. We think it'll come in closer to $1.2 million. That's a really good thing because we had to move things from that, from other projects that were in that $7 million bond in order to what we thought the roof project would cost to pay for that. So we had actually zeroed out caulking, exterior and window caulking at Tile, and we had zeroed out Mohegan School window replacement. If this comes in as we think that it will at this point, we will be able to put those back into that $7 million bond and cover those projects that were intended to be covered in the bond originally. The work is scheduled to begin immediately after school ends on June 18th. They say they will be here, and it is planned to be completed in the summer. So we're excited, very excited about that, to be moving forward with it. It's been a long process.
Any questions? So this is a big move. This roof is now 32 years old. So definitely lived its life, and this is another good thing happening for the town, I believe, and for the school system. Okay, F, appraisal of HVAC grant awards, please.
Yesterday, the state announced $122 million in grant awards for Connecticut Public Schools. I'm really proud to say that Montville was awarded the second highest amount awarded to any public school. Norwalk was the only district with a higher award. They were $21.5 million. Our award was $15.5 million. The state is paying 72.5% of the cost of projects at 6 schools. this is where it gets confusing, because these projects are in two different bonds. So, you know, in December 2023, the town approved a $15.3 million bond. That was to fully cover the costs for HVAC projects at 5 schools, did not include tile. We put in applications for all of those 5 schools, and rather than requiring the full $15.3 million, the state is now paying 72.5% of that cost because we got those grant awards. The 6th project was for tile. That was part of that $7 million 2022 bond. And 2 portions of that bond we applied for in the HVAC grant. We had applied for those in the first round. That's what we didn't get, and we applied for the second round. And that was the boiler replacement. That boiler replacement has already been completed. It's about $800,000. But with the way this grant works, we will be retroactively reimbursed for 72.5% of those costs. And then the rooftop unit air handler was also in the grant for tile, but that was budgeted for $4,626,000 in the $7 million bond. So we're paying a portion, 72.5% of those projects in one bond. So really great news, and it does mean that the town will not need to tap anywhere close to the amount of money that they approved when they voted those bonds in.
Everybody get that?
Good news.
Great news. I'm extremely grateful to Kathy.
It is, it's good stuff.
Very good.
It's very good stuff.
Yeah, Kathy did an amazing job in managing. Those 6 grant applications were a ton of documents, just trying to keep everything straight. It was 6 applications, so I really appreciate all her work. And I also really appreciate the town council. I think that their support to meet the requirement that we could demonstrate funding was in place was critical to the approval of our bonds, of our grants.
Thank you, Kathy.
And then I will tell you, Kathy, Willie, Diane, and I met last week to talk to the architect and the engineer about, so this is big. How's this going to work? Because getting the grant is one thing, now making it happen is another thing. There's considerable design work that needs to be completed before the construction documents are ready to go to bid. So they are working on that right now. We communicated to them our desire to move that as quickly as we possibly can. Initially, they were saying they wouldn't have the documents ready to go out to bid until February. Now they are saying that the easier projects, which are Palmer and the elementary, are easier projects. Perhaps those documents would be completed by September, and the high school and tile be ready to go out to bid by the beginning of December. So that's good news as well. We're concerned about the timing because these projects need to be completed for the grant by December 2025. The architect is telling us there's a 36-week lag in some of the components of equipment that we need, and for some things that are in the electrical area, maybe up to a year. So we really want to get the bids out and awarded so we get these projects underway so we can meet the timelines. Good to know that a lot of this work could be done while school's in session, so it's not like everything has to happen at the same time. I think that is there anything else to say?
Did great.
We'll only be getting what, like needing to do like what, $5 million of the bond?
Of the 15.3, yeah.
Depending on what the actual
Yeah, we
price
have
comes
to-
in. We're only going based on what we anticipated, but we'll have to see what the bids come in. Might be less, might be more, but it's a good thing.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Discussion of continuation of recordings on BOE meetings.
Just something for you to be aware of. Our incredible videographer has done a great job. The videos are posted after the meeting. When we first did them, there was a great deal of interest. It might have been us, I don't know. So in November, we could see how many people watch it. And I have to say some of us watched a couple times. We're going in trying to see if it worked and all. But anyway, there were 59 viewers, December 23, January 16, that finance workshop 5, February was 5, and then March and April were each 1. So I just want you to be aware of that, to think about that. We are obviously paying Jake not a huge amount of money, but it's taking a tremendous amount of Nick's time to put all the segments together to get it ready to post. And when I talked to Nick, we talked about training Jake to do that, so it would cost a little bit more to have him pick that up next year. talk to you about that yet, or is that, okay, good. So just want to make sure this is something you still want to go forward with. Obviously, I'm making the decision tonight, but I want to put the information out there.
Guess everybody's gonna think about that. Or you have a comment, Gina?
Is this in, so if we don't record them, all the meeting minutes are still posted,
Audio.
audio, okay. But it's not, it won't be on the,
It's not accessible to the public in an easy way. I don't know if anyone comes in and asks to listen to tapes or not aware of it. You know, these exist and they can sit in our office, but that is a click and you're at home and you can watch it. So, you know, the idea is nice.
Okay.
What were the dates again, Lori? So March, April?
We started it in November. It really started to peter down after January. After that, it was 5 and less. February, March, April.
Okay, thank you. Discussion and possible action regarding 2024-2025 substitute pay.
My recommendation is you ignore the possible action for tonight, but I want to make you aware, there was discussion on social media about our sub-pay, so I just wanted to be able to talk to you about that because I know it was brought to my attention. Our daily sub rate is $95 a day. They work 6-hour days, so it is above minimum wage, but not by a lot. When I do that math, it's $15.83 an hour. So it's, you know, right there. The building substitutes, which come every day, and we have 2 per building, may considerably more. If they have a bachelor's degree, they get $140 a day, and if they have a certificate, teaching certificate, they get $150 a day. So those rates are if you want to discuss the daily sub rate and think about it, once we know our budget appropriation, we can figure out if there's some way to move that up. But I do need to caution you that we've been over our budget in our sub line for at least a couple of years now.
Do we not get people based on our pay, or do we
The
get?
daily subs are hard for everyone to get. I don't know if it's based on our pay or if it's just it's really hard to get a worker that, you know, comes in based on something they see the night before, the morning of, and come in the door. We don't have trouble, I don't think, with our building subs at those rates. Those are all full. The daily subs, in the spring, we captured the college students, and that the rates seem good for them, but, you know, for an adult during the rest of the year, it's minimum wage plus below.
Refresh my memory, please. Building sub difference.
The building subs come every day, so they're guaranteed pay, so they know their job. You know, when you go to bed at night, you know what you're doing tomorrow every single day. As opposed to the daily subs, it's, I look online, there's a place or not.
How far out do they know this? For a week?
Which,
The building subs. Oh,
they come every single day all year. All day,
all year.
Yeah.
Glad to ask the question.
On our daily rate, do we know where we fall with surrounding districts?
Rates for subs in the area are all over the place. Before COVID, we were kind of all benchmarked, and then during COVID, we were raising rates at every meeting because we were trying to grab subs because no one had subs. Then we kind of settled with we increased, before COVID, we had 1 sub per building and nothing at Palmer. We increased it to 2 and put 1 at Palmer. So we were able to accomplish some, you know, a lot of our sub needs, but certainly not all, through those building subs. We put our money into the building sub basket, not the daily sub basket.
How often do you need more than the 2 building subs?
Every day, right?
So we're behind every day. In other words,
In subs,
in subs, we're behind every day.
Right now, I think I have 5 out more teachers.
that's what we think about.
Is that at your school? You have 5 out at your school alone tomorrow.
Correct.
The first thing you wake up, think about in the morning, and it's the last thing you think about.
So I'm curious for the board, like, how does that affect your day tomorrow as a principal at Mohegan if you know you have 5 people out tomorrow?
I was working on it from 4 o'clock till 11 here. And then I'll pick it up when I get to work in the morning.
Could you repeat that?
I was working on it after the kids left today, how I'm gonna finagle coverage, and then I'll work on it when I get in the morning as well. Make sure every class is covered.
Because more teacher may ask for money.
Right, so I'm curious, out of the administrators here, how many know what Mohegan knows
What do you mean?
about tomorrow?
Do you know?
Well, they all.
Oh,
Do you have building stuff tomorrow?
yeah, I'll need subs, but ours is a little bit different in high school because I have to cover blocks, so it's like putting a puzzle together, but what, mine, like I said, mine's a little bit easier, but, yeah, we're definitely having people out tomorrow.
It's likely that you'll pull a teacher off of prep to cover.
Potentially, yes.
And the same at Tile, right?
Correct.
Palmer?
It's an issue as well. So we have people out all the time, and it's like Liz said, it's what you think about when last thing before you go to bed, and then your phone's dinging in the morning, and you're trying to figure out how you're going to cover everything. We piece it, like they're saying, we piece it together. Classes are covered, but it's always tricky how you're going to do it.
All right, thank you.
Has there been a change since we made the contract language change as far as our need for subs, or has it been pretty stable?
That contract's not in place yet.
Not in place yet, okay.
Won't be till next year.
So this is under the old language.
Do we use that agency that does all the,
We use an electronic system, so it's not an agency, it's a subscription.
So it's ASOP, A lot of school, it's an ASOP software, so that the staff can call in, put the absences down, indicate whether or not they need a sub or not, and then the subs can go into the system, view what's out there, and sign up for those openings, and then the school could reassign them once they get there based on their needs. They could find that there's a better fit for that person once they get there. So
but your sub listings, where do you get your approved subs from? Do you
They
clear
apply,
them?
the principals interview them and
Okay.
recommend them, we hire them as daily subs, and then give them the password to go into the system.
So it's all
and sign
done
in.
internally?
Yes, yeah.
Kelly's system, I don't think has had much better luck at coverage either. So I mean, it's just a
not
hard
very
market.
effective system.
Yeah.
Kind of a lot of holes people fall through and not to follow through. I'm glad to know that we don't use them.
Yeah, my thought is, let's wait and see what the appropriation is. Let's take our Excel spreadsheet and look at what we need to do to try to meet that, and then let's think about this problem, because it is a problem.
So I guess the question is it a money issue or people just don't want to work?
I think it's a both issue.
It's a both issue?
But, because daily sub's not a very attractive position, like I said, you know, same as the principals are, you're saying, okay, let me set my alarm for 5, go in, see if there's something, because you're probably playing, you know, several districts, and I'm gonna check and see what's in Waterford and East Lyme and Montville and grab something and go to work, but it's not a job you do every day.
Okay.
Pam, do you think you can make sure that G and H are on their old business for the next meeting, so we don't forget that it exists? Thank you.
Any other questions about substitutes? Thank you for your input. All right, old business. Review and possible revision of 2024-2025 Board of Education budget. Superintendent?
As I told you and the town council, once we heard our health insurance numbers, I would make a recommendation for a reduction based on the health insurance numbers that Kathy received. So when we last talked, at our last meeting, the proposal that we ended with and sent to the town as our recommendation was $45,527,416, and that represented a 4.537% increase. I would like to recommend to you tonight that we make 2 reductions to that. Talking to Kathy, I believe that we can reduce the health insurance by $175,000. And I also believe, or I also not believe, this one I know, I applied for grant funding for the Pathways Waterford Country Day experience and received that, so we can take $10,000 out of the budget that would cover that cost. What that would do in total is get us down to $45,342,416, which is a 4.112% increase. As I told you, and I've told the council, we have developed a budget that is based upon exact needs and only those needs. There is no padding in our budget, there are no contingency funds in our budget, and I promised that meeting by meeting, we would take any reductions if we found them in real time so that everyone knew that, and that's what we know at this time. I don't, and I suppose I could have put those magnet school tuition additions in, but they're still not hard numbers. They're, until the students go in the fall and we get those bills, that's one I'd like to let float.
All right, I'll make the motion to revise the 2024-2025 Board of Education budget.
I have a question.
Discussion, yes.
Okay. Why don't we do this after the town council gives us a budget? Why are we reducing it for them to reduce it more?
Because what we have promised the town, since I've been superintendent, is we'll let you know in real time if we find places that we can reduce the budget, rather than sort of hold those all back and hear a number and then magically we have these things that we knew about all along. That's how I've done it. If the board has a different recommendation for the future, certainly can make that.
Well, I like that. I'm not sure the town council will act on that.
I hope they will. I hope they trust in good faith that this is an honest and open process. And
I mean, if they're going to cut us, say 600, I would have liked it on the high figure, not low figure, because the 600 may never change. So I'm just saying, I know what you're saying. I like that honest transparency point of view, but
there's another perspective. I agree.
There's another perspective out there, and I don't know. Maybe they know about it now, right? They all know. I don't know why we have to revise it now. We sent them a budget, and why don't we wait to see what they do?
So I agree with the superintendent on this because two of the finance members on the town council are here tonight, and we actually sat in front of them and told them that we would take a look at our these particular areas, and I think it's in good faith. I understand your point. I think it's in good faith what we're doing here, to be very upfront and transparent as we were when we met with the finance committee. And as I said, two of them are here tonight, so.
But the point, and I've made it in phone conversations and conversations with you, there's nothing else I can pull out my sleeve. This is it. Because we've taken the cuts all along the way. So, and Joe has asked me this many times, well, what can you live with? I can live with 4.112 because there's nothing extra in our budget.
Thank you, Laura.
I think we have a second on my motion, right? Yep. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion passes. Thank you. All right, information items. Do you have any? No. All right, committee and liaison reports. Policy, please.
The assistant superintendent discussed the two policies that we went over today for job descriptions for the superintendent and the assistant superintendent.
Thank you.
They'll be brought to the board.
Education evaluation.
Well, we had two presentations. We've already discussed and acted on one of them. The other one was from Principal RLs about the annual participation numbers for athletics. And basically, we had 321 students participating, which is 58.36% of our student population. We had 174 males and 147 females. And our enrollment is 550, so that shows some nice numbers, nice participation. And that's another reason why, a comprehensive high school is a comprehensive high school.
you have a baseline to see if that's higher?
No, it's actually, it's trending up. It's
Trending
not
up.
as high as it used to be. Our highest numbers was over 61%. That was back the year before COVID. After COVID, we fell significantly in participation, which would have been, expected. But we are working our way back up. It's about a 9% increase over what we had last year.
Thank you. Communications Committee.
No meeting.
No meeting, thank you. Montville Education Foundation.
Their last meeting was to determine grant recipients, so I was not present, but I do know that they're setting dates to think about awarding grants.
Learn.
We got two real things. The state is fully funding our early childhood center that we're going to build in Waterford at 51 Daniels Lane, Daniels Road. The cost that they've fully funded is at about $95 million. Because we're destroying the building that is there, it's unusable. That's why Vern pulled the dual language school out of there, and we're building an entire. There'll be infant and toddler, about 45, 50 seats there, and then it will be pre-K, K, 1 and 2, and then doing that allows us to move students to the RMMS, and that will become a 3 through 8 school. So that's part of the plans. The other thing is coming up on our June 6th meeting is our last meeting of the year, and we get the presentation on what the Learn has done for the year. And at that one, I always like to invite our two superintendents, our outgoing and incoming superintendent, to attend that. It's at 8:15 in the morning, and there is a buffet breakfast. Yes.
Is that pre-K program open to just New London residents?
No, that will be for the region.
I'm sorry.
It'll be for the entire Learn region.
The region, okay.
Yeah, the whole region. No, this isn't like the Friendship School. This is going to replace the Friendship School. We're going to turn that building back over to Waterford.
Thank you. Cave NSBA.
We did have a K Board of Directors meeting. A good part of that meeting was talking about Cave's budget for the next year. There were no particular surprises in that conversation. We also spoke a little bit about priorities for next year, but the main thing was like we're right there waiting to see what the legislature was going to do on our issues. And they hadn't done it yet. So that was pretty much how the meeting went.
Thank you. Montville Youth Service Bureau.
The Youth Advisory Board met last Thursday. Two highlights. This is Mental Health Awareness Month. And this coming Monday, Ben & Jerry's is doing mental health awareness. And Youth Services will be over there from 6 to 9 p.m. serving ice cream and also having a table for information on mental health awareness. And they will get 10% of the proceeds. And the other thing is Mental Health Fridays held here at the high school. Youth Services comes over and sets up a table and set for mental health information, awareness, and giveaways and such.
You said this coming Monday?
Yeah, the 27th.
That's a holiday.
Yep.
Okay.
I'd like to make a correction if I could. I said fully funded, I meant to say 95% funded for our building.
I was worried about that 5%. Might have to go to town council and get that 5%. Anyhow, student board reps.
Our spring athletes are wrapping up a season full of growth and success as teams begin competing in their ECC championship tournaments as well as states in the coming weeks. Each sport senior night ceremonies to honor their graduating players' dedication to their respective programs. Notably, the girls' track team became ECC Division III champions for the regular season, as well as the tournament champions yesterday. And the Tile boys' track team continues to remain undefeated. I also would like to highlight two students, Nick Diaz and Cole Turney, who received the CIAC Unified Sports Exemplary Teammate Award for demonstrating outstanding sportsmanship and citizenship. Outside of athletics, our students have accomplished a lot in the past month. The Environmental Club also partnered with Ben & Jerry's at Mohegan Sun to put on an Earth Day event where they spread information about the environment to the Montville community and also received a portion of the proceeds. And they're planning on making a free little library for Montville High School. The Montville Arts Council and National Art Honor Society hosted a coffee house open mic last week, welcoming artists of any kind to share their work and admire the art of others. The National Art Honor Society also visited an art class at Mohegan Elementary, and they drew with students and are currently working on making clay sculptures that will bring their creations to life. Additionally, our ECE biology teacher, Mrs. Mackey, was awarded the 2024 UConn ECE Instructor Award for Excellence in Course Instruction. As one of her students, I have to say that her class is very amazing, and the award's well deserved. Though we have less than a month left of the school year, there's still plenty going on at MHS between now and then. Underclassmen awards will take place on May 30th, while senior awards will be on June 6th. Newly selected members of the National Honor Society, as well as the National Spanish Honor Society, will be inducted in a ceremony in the auditorium on May 28th. Current NHS members are planning another car wash at the community center for June 2nd from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., and they're planning on continuing raising funds to buy clothing for Montville students in need. Students at Tile have been working on SBA and GSS testing, and their efforts will be celebrated with their Spirit Week this week, concluding in a mental health day, Get Out and Play, on Friday. Also on Friday will be the Tile Way Assembly for the spring. Over 500 students were nominated by their peers and teachers for embodying the core values of respect, responsibility, pride, and safety. At the assembly, 15 students and 3 staff members will be honored. Before their promotion on June 13th, the 8th graders in good academic and behavioral standing will celebrate their achievements with a class trip to Lake Compounds. Finally, I'd like to say thank you to you all for the opportunity to sit on the board and listen about everything that goes into education and for being able to share what Montville students have been up to. Thank you.
Adam?
I'll start off by saying the boys tennis team finished their season with a pretty good record of 11-5. We sent 3 players to ECCs yesterday. Only one of our doubles teams made it to the second round. Otherwise, we were knocked out pretty quickly. And us and the girls have our first states match this Friday. And with this record, I actually am very glad to announce that we have won our division, and we're going to be moving up to Division II for next year, and that'll be really nice with the new and painted courts, correct? Right?
Yes.
I just wanted to make sure. That sounded a little bad, but I was confirming.
Yes.
About the open mic night that was held last week, I went there and read some of my poetry. It didn't have the best turnout, but I thought it was really nice to have an opportunity to share along with some other people. It was originally going to be outside, and it ended up being inside because of the rain, but it was still a very nice vibe. Sabria Wynn was someone else that read poems there, and she is this year's Poet Laureate, and she'll be reading her poetry at this year's graduation before someone else takes the title for next year, or it's totally possible that she wins again. And just like last year, we're submitting our work this May on the 30th, and then we'll do a reading in the fall of next school year, and then the winner will be decided then, at least as far as I'm aware. As someone who is a big fan of and writer of poetry, I find the Poet Laureate a very helpful opportunity to share our work, so I'm very much looking forward to it next year, or this year. I also want you to introduce Tiana, who's right over there, who will be our junior representative for the Board of Ed. Right now, she is a sophomore at Montville High School. Her favorite pastimes are listening to music, reading novels, and spending time with friends and family. She is currently a proud member of the girls' outdoor track team, a National Society of High School Scholars member, and a member of Montville High's concert choir. In the future, she's most looking forward to seeing Montville High School grow as a more welcoming and supportive environment for all in education and extracurriculars. Lastly, I just want to thank everybody, as well as Alexis, for being very welcoming of me and helping me feel comfortable in this position. I really appreciate this opportunity. So thank you.
Thank you. Principals? Outside of staff tomorrow, you got anything else you want to share?
No, I'll go real quick.
Any subs?
No, I'll go real quick. This is long overdue. It may be more fitting as maybe a future Montville Marvel, but these three individuals have asked me not to use a spot on them and not take it away from a teacher. But it's long overdue that I acknowledge the administrative team at Montville High School, Amanda Brown, Ken Danowitz, and Tim Dilwig, for their just unwavering dedication and hard work to what they do here. They don't only make Montville High School a better place, but they make me a better principal. And just Amanda's knowledge and dedication to special education. Ken Danowitz, I don't know where he gets the energy from and how he does what he does in this building. He's all over the place, and every time he sees me, he's like, what do you need? And then Tim Dilwig, when we hired him 2 years ago, Ken and I went up to Lori and said, within 5 years, he'll be the best AD in the conference. It's not even 2 years, and I believe he already is the best AD in the ECC conference, and that is with some real seasoned athletic directors. So just wanted to put that on your radar. Like I said, it's long overdue that we mentioned them in this forum.
We just wanted to mention that the 3 elementary school principals were invited to be to launch the Little League season, and so we all went on a Saturday morning, and I was hoping they were going to ask us to throw out the first pitch. They wanted us to speak, so we all got to speak. We realized that we all have a Little League background, and it was really great. The kids were great, and we had a good time. So it was nice.
A lot of kids, a lot more kids than when I coached there a few years back. But keep along with the community theme. A week from Saturday, if you're around, Mohegan's hosting their annual family fun day. It's a carnival type atmosphere where kids and their families show up, enjoy themselves, eat a couple hot dogs, and just have a good time together playing games. So if you're around 12 to 3, a week from Saturday, stop by.
And where is that?
At Mohegan.
Also, I just want you guys to know we've been struggling to hire and retain math teachers at Palmer over the last several years. We actually, our current seniors have had 4 different math teachers. Some of them have taken transfer, some of them just haven't been maybe the right fit, but we have a terrific candidate that Lori just met with the other day. Great experience, really highly recommended. The reference checks were amazing. We're excited to have them. And we also got a transfer from Tile to replace a special ed teacher. So at this point, we've never really been fully staffed, but we are at Palmer. We're all set to finish out this year. We're ready to go for next year too. It's a nice feeling. Haven't had that in a while. I mean, usually we're scrambling especially for a math teacher in the summertime.
Why is that? Why math?
Math teachers are hard, incredibly hard to find. It's an extreme shortage area. So I really think we have a good one.
Thank you very much. All right, special services. Paula, please.
Sure. So with less than a month left to school, I have been kind of focusing on finalizing ESY and programming needs, transportation needs for the ESY. I'm fully staffed for ESY with teachers and paras, and just working on some outings and the transportation and the logistics of that. Students are really getting excited at the end of the year. There are a variety of activities planned throughout the district to celebrate the end of the year. Some have already taken place. There was a unified prom on May 4th. 12 of our students attended that, some of the special ed students and their typical peers from the unified teams here. That was in New London. Brian Burns' class took a field trip to Niantic where they enjoyed the Niantic Boardwalk. They went to lunch at the Shack, and then they went to the book barn. Kaylin Travis at Tile Middle School. Her class was honored with a guest speaker, actually Sam Capozas, who is our speech path for the secondary. Her brother came in and did a presentation on flowers and growing flowers and brought in a bunch of flowers where the kids were able to make bouquets and bring them home for their moms, for Mother's Day. So that was very, very nice. Pictures are all on Facebook, so if you haven't gone there, please do so. There's some great shots of the kids on all three of the events. Lastly, the transition will be graduating 3 students this year, and they will be moving on to programming through DDS or BRS services. The students, each of the ones that have graduated have planned a special event for the end of the year, one being Ocean Beach, the other being Mystic Seaport, and then they're going to end the year with a hike at Devil's Hot Yard. So lots of fun stuff going on.
Thank you. Assistant Superintendent?
Yes, on May 2nd, we had our 2-hour PD in district. Secondary educators worked on curriculum, and we had Karen Gray come in to meet with our elementary team on play-based learning. So some new legislation requires schools to provide play-based learning for kindergarten and preschool students. And it also requires us to allow those in 1st through 5th grade that opportunity should they so choose. So the PD was really amazing. Somebody came in and just showed how you can incorporate play, not free range play, but play that works on, core standards as well as executive functioning skills. So it was pretty complex learning that was going on, and everybody was having fun. So grown adults were making projects to help build a hospital, if you will, out of, collected pieces of, I don't want to say garbage, but it kind of was, But it was so much fun, and they enjoyed it, and we're really excited about what that will look like. In fact, Will Kleinfelter went to see it in action following this PD, and we're excited to see where this goes, and the teachers are really, really on board with it. We are almost done with state testing, so we're excited about that. The end date is May 31st. Our target is to really complete this week and then use next week to get a hold of our students who are chronically absent or, came down with an illness and missed some of that testing. So that's a little stressful period of time when we try and make that over 95% participation rate. And the high school finished up today, I believe, with their science, so they're done. And lastly, we met yesterday with a large team to review applicants for the assistant superintendent position. We had a large amount of applicants and a very large committee that went through the applications, and then the next step would be the interview, and we're excited about that.
Thank you, Superintendent.
First, I want to tell you that the K-waiver process has been completed and communicated to everyone. And as far as I know, the legislation was left as it stood a year ago. So we worked hard to develop a process. We felt like it was really proud of the process, and that it was a necessary process as the state kept that intact. My understanding is we'll still do the same next year, and then we'll see what happens after that. But I think we've got something solid to build on. I wanted to just explain to you a communication that I sent to Tim May regarding our budget, because there are a couple of areas that I wanted to be sure the Finance Committee and Town Council were aware of, where there's money that was intended for education purposes that came from the state, that the town did not book the full amount that the state was appropriating to the town. So for example, for the fiscal year 2024, the town booked $12,712,864 as the funding they would get from the state for the excess cost share grant. And that's the grant that's intended to, if you remember Erica's presentation, kind of equalize opportunities across all school districts. We found that our appropriation from the state plus an adjustment that we made from the prior year means that the town actually received $160,848 more than they anticipated or booked. So I wanted the town council and finance committee to be aware that there's money that came from the state for education that hasn't been, wasn't earmarked. Well, it's in the fund balance at this point, and I want them to be aware the intent is to be applied to education. In addition to that, for the excess cost grant, the town booked $450,000 for 2024. We anticipate they will receive, and this is something that's calculated three times a year. We anticipate they will receive $695,000. In other words, $245,000 more than they anticipated. In addition, there have been little change to those students that qualify for excess costs. So we anticipate next year that the amount we would receive from the state will be about the same, about $695,000. And the town, again, in next year's budget, to our knowledge, has booked $450,000. So they will receive, again, an additional about $245,000. And then on a much smaller scale, but every penny counts, for adult education, we also get an entitlement from the state. The town booked $35,000. The amount anticipated is $37,598, so another $2,500 there. So I wanted the town to be aware of those funds that are intended for education, but are not at this moment earmarked for education. And I also just wanted to make one final statement around the cannabis sales tax money, because the town estimated for 2024 they would receive $200,000. To our knowledge, through February, the town received $276,000, and there was still March, April, May, June. So we believe that there will be more than the $200,000 that was planned for this current year and for next year. And just asking again that the town consider these are ways that could go towards helping us meet that 4.11 that we desperately need, and it's only needs, not wants, without looking at the mill rate. That total, in terms of money that is anticipated or received or expected from the state, but not booked by the town, is $653,446. So I did want Tim to be aware of that, and I gave him a detailed explanation in the chart.
And what she means when she says reserve, it will go into revenue this year, but that revenue will be higher than what she anticipated. So when we close out that book, then that ends up going to the reserve fund for the town.
Do you have to apply to be able to get those funds released to you?
No, these funds are entitlement funds from the state for the excess cost of special education students and for that kind of sort of redistributing funds to make all towns try and get them more on a level playing field. That's what the ECS funding is for.
And has it been explained why it hasn't been released?
It's not, we don't know, it's not because it was intentional. We don't know exactly what the state will give us when we build the budget. So and that's why one reason that the town council chair has talked about setting the budget as late as possible is because it's really helpful if you know what the funds you're going to get from the state are before you set your budget. Last year, they, just like we do, make their best guesses for what those things will be, but they're under what we actually received. So, we want to make the town aware that those are funds that hopefully they would consider for education. Sorry, it is a lot. That's all I have. We talked a lot of numbers tonight.
Citizens' comments. Are there any citizens' comments? Citizens' comments? Yes, Mr. Lathrop. Just identify yourself and your address, please.
Kevin Lathrop, 1013 East Lake Road. I'm on Board of Finance, so we talked a little bit about the school budget. I really appreciate they said that they would look at everything, and if things changed when numbers were finalizing and coming in, they would work that budget to keep it lean, which to me is the really honest approach on doing it, because it shows that they're watching their numbers as much as we're watching their numbers, and they're keeping it really honest, and they're not trying to leave anything in there that they don't truly need. So the efforts are appreciated and noted. you know, the budget's not finalized yet, but we all have our fingers crossed that we stay friends.
Thank you. Any other
We'll
citizens?
always be friends, no matter what happens. And I hope you and my finance director spoke, Kathy.
We've spoken.
Joe, you need to identify yourself and your
Oh,
address.
excuse me. Joe Jacobs, Park Avenue. Not New York Park Avenue, by the way. Kathy, you and Barbara
I've spoken
spoke?
with Barbara.
So she knows all about this?
As
What-
far as
what-
I'm
what-
aware of.
What's being thrown out now is a little surprise for me,
We've
so.
talked about the
All
excess
I want to
cost.
know is, you did talk to her?
We've talked about the excess cost not being booked for next year.
Oh, okay.
And I've talked about this year coming in higher than what we had been booked. So the ECS money, she already knows because she's already got that funded. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other citizens' comments? Yes.
I just have a question. Maybe you can help. We all have to present a budget, right? At a certain time. Take it to the town.
Lisa, could you speak up?
I'm
Because,
sorry, I'm sorry, we take it to the town with a cover letter, right? And our budget was 45,527, right? That's what the town received. We had 2 public hearings, correct? One on 45,527 and the other on what they had. Just asking procedure, because this is all new to me. We had public hearings on 45,527. Now we're gonna say, well, now it's gonna be 45,342, and that's great. Do we have another public hearing?
No.
Send another budget with a cover letter, and at the budget meeting to adopt, what will the figure be? 45,527 or 45,342?
Well, if the board adopted the budget tonight, we would let the town council know what number that we're presenting to them for consideration. So it would be the number that was done tonight. The public hearing was to hear people address the issue with the budget, you know, if there were issues with the budget, but there wasn't issues other than to add money. This is something that we have said based on getting new information on the insurance that we could reduce it because the information that we had when we did the budget was higher than what we actually ended up with a renewal rate for the insurance. So we're comfortable saying it doesn't change the intent of what the budget was, but we can reduce it because we got new rates. The other issue, we have 7% and 10% for workers' comp and property liability. If he gave me a better rate and told me that we didn't need that in the budget, we would be presenting that tonight too, to reduce budget. It doesn't change the intent of what the budget was established at, but it does allow us to take savings if we know that there are savings that came in after that budget document was developed.
And in my remarks at that public hearing, I actually did reference this health insurance savings. We didn't have a hard number on it, but I made sure that everyone present at that time was aware that we were looking at that and we anticipated somewhere around that 175,000.
Any other questions? Any other citizens' comments? Okay, hearing none. So if you watch the news, you'll see that the state of Connecticut kindly bailed out Hartford Public School Systems. They split it with the city of Hartford, $10.5 million, because they didn't want to lay off 387 teachers. Kind of interesting how that works, right? The state just steps right in, hands them some money, makes that happen. Enfield today has a problem. They're looking to lay off 120 teachers. Be curious to see what the state of Connecticut does there. Staying on the theme of budgets, super proud of this board. I'm super proud of the administration team that does this. Superintendent and her staff work very diligently to put this together. And I look at other districts and I see they are falling off a cliff, as they say in the news, because of ESSER grants. And thankfully, this admin team that we deal with as the Board of Ed, we share time with and collaborate with, has done a wonderful job of making sure we didn't go off a cliff here. So I think there's a lot to be said here going forward in the budget season. I am a little concerned about the subs. I really am a little concerned about that. I'm concerned about paraeducators. And I'm concerned about certified staff. Education is the future of humanity in this country as we know it. It really is. It's really what it's about, right? Children don't have a lot of choices, especially in the public school system. A lot of other things that we address in society have choices and other paths they can take. But the school system, a lot of kids have this one straight path to take. So I applaud everybody in here who works very diligently to make sure that children get the very best they can every day. That's all I have to say. Future agenda items? All right, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much for working on it.